Welcome, everyone. Welcome, my friends, to this very special webinar. Today, I have with me a special guest, Dr. Lizabeth England, and it's going to be the IKIGAI International podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what is IKIGAI and how Liz sees her IKIGAI, and we're going to help you identify your IKIGAI and know what is it first, and how to find your life purpose. And by Ikigai, we mean Iki, which means life, and Gai means purpose or worth. If we combine both of them, it gives how to find a worth kind of to your life, a purpose to your life. So, and we're interested more specifically in the professional life. So, Dr. Liz England, welcome to the Ikigai podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're interested to know more about your career path, Dr. Liz, and so I will let you go your own way, your own style, if you want to tell us a little bit how it all started with you and you got interested into career path development. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Yousra, and greetings to you there in Tunis, one of my favorite places in all of the world. I am speaking to you today from Winchester, Virginia, which is far away from Tunisia. We have technology to help us be together, and we have a small but eager group of participants with us. Thank you who have joined us already. I believe we'll have more people maybe as time passes. I see that my PowerPoint is loading. And so while that's happening, I think I'll just tell you a little bit about me. As you know, I am a semi-retired teacher educator, language teacher educator. My whole life, I have been a teacher educator. And I've been lucky to be anchored in the US where I live, but also traveling for longer term, shorter term projects. And all of these items have been my career path. So in 2019, I wrote this book on TESOL career path development, because over the course of my career, I've been so lucky to meet thousands of teachers around the world in maybe 40 countries or so, where I've learned from them so much about myself and about them, and about English language teaching. I've always felt there was a bit of an omission or a gap in our canon of applied linguistics and, sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, phonetics, phonology, all the grammar stuff. And I've always felt there was kind of a gap in our world of TESOL, because we have applied linguistics, we have pedagogy, we learn how to teach, we learn how different kinds of people with different ages, different proficiency, how they learn. And we have cross-cultural communication stuff. So those three, applied linguistics, pedagogy, and cross-cultural. But we don't really talk about our careers very much. And because we are teachers, we so often are focused on students. And so even in an association like Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages, or ITEFL, the International Association of Teachers of English Foreign Language, we almost never talk about teachers. We almost always talk about students. And so I have been, as happens when you get old, I have been liberated. As I've gotten older and older and older and older, I've become freer, and that freedom has given me a sense of how important teaching and teachers are. And so for the last 3 or 4 years, I have been kind of preaching this thing about teachers being a bit selfish. And I'll give you 2 examples of how that works, and then I'll talk about what we're going to do today to help you to sort of begin to think a little bit more about yourself. One thing I did was in Dubai at the TESOL Arabia in 2017, I gave the closing keynote at the conference, and I asked all the participants in the room, maybe some of you were there, And we sat quietly and put everything on the floor, phone, pen, paper, everything goes on the floor. Just sit with your empty lap and nothing, just silence. It was very awkward and I felt very, 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 very nervous. But I learned so much from that experience. That was one big thing that happened to me in Dubai. The other things that I've done, and just the one I'll mention that's really important, is that I worked at a university in Indonesia for 1 year. Indonesia is a country that is extraordinary. If you haven't been there and get a chance, do not ever consider saying no, or even maybe say, yes, I'm going to go to Indonesia. But I did something in Indonesia with my students. I had 90 undergraduates in a cross-cultural communications class. Those guys were amazing, and they taught me so much. They did a flash mob. It's a very religious, conservative place, a big city called Makassar, and our 90 students basically organized a flash mob that they did in the university campus as their final project. And I learned so much from those. There were 11 committees, and the students organized themselves. They really taught me so much about leadership and about TESOL and about all of those subjects I mentioned, applied linguistics, pedagogy, cross-cultural communication. I learned so much from them. All of us have these career stories. And I know for me, when I sit together with my colleagues, often they're women, but not always, but we sit together and we tell our stories. And I find that to be as important as a PhD, that we get a chance to share our stories and find out, what is your purpose, Yousra? What is your purpose, Mohammed, Arundam, whoever you are? What is that drives you to do the things you do? So when Yousra invited me to do this presentation, I had a chance to really dig into that a little bit. I'm not going to go sit here and tell you my story, my biography. It's a little bit boring to do it. But trust me when I say that I have so many fond memories of so many beautiful moments in which I've been able to sort of identify my own purpose and help other people to do the same. So how's that, Yousra? Okay?
That is perfect, Liz. And I'm really so excited to know more about your purpose in life and what you have already mentioned. And I know most of what you said because I've been a member within the TESOL International Association. I've been admiring what the CPD PLN is doing, and I've been a member and I've attended some events with you, and I've came across a lot of stories that have been very inspirational. So I look forward to hearing your story today, Liz. So glad that you're here. Thank you very much. So yeah, just a second.
So
yes,
my goal is to get others talking. This is kind of the overall agenda. Do you want to go over that, Yousra?
Yes, please. So as you like, just tell me whenever I should stop or like scroll if you want to.
Sure, let's go back to the agenda so we can look at it for just a second, please. Thanks. So my career path has been not so different from any of yours, where I've had a number of jobs. I've worked with a number of different kinds of students. And I wanted to just sort of share that, which is what I just did. Please feel free at any time. We're a very small group, so it's very easy for you to interrupt me at any time. Please feel free to do that. We want to talk a little bit about this IKIGAI concept, which is Yousra just very clearly and sort of quickly described to you what it is, a Japanese identified concept, IKIGAI. We'll be talking more about this life purpose thing later on. And then how does it connect with career path? I was really interested in this concept, but only in the respect that, you know, I'm already working on in TESOL career path development, is how is it that our purposes define our career paths? Because sometimes those change over the course of our careers. I identify 5 stages of our career paths in my book, and I'd like to hear about yours. Where are you on your career path? Where have you been? Where are you now? And where are you going in the future? These are really important questions. I often encourage in my workshops, I guide people in writing those down. Oftentimes we don't write it. We just talk it, and it's sort of, oh, well, it's not worth it. It seems not worth it because who's going to read this stuff? Well, you're going to read it. And it's so valuable to look back at what you wrote, say 3 months ago, 3 years ago. I encourage teachers to reflect in writing. The number 4 is TESOL Career Path Development, Creating Professional Success. That's my book. And I can talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to discuss this concept of Ikigai as it relates to us individually. And I hope by the end of today, you'll have something to take away. My goal is for one thing for you to do, that you're going to leave this meeting today, and maybe you won't do it today, but you have a plan of one thing you're going to do. And that means you're going to do something, you're going to start exercising your body some more. I do body, mind, and soul. Maybe you're going to do something with your body that you've been meaning to do, and talking to other people, you never do it. Teachers are famous for planning and not doing things for themselves. And my goal is to really squeeze people a little bit to make them do something. Body, mind, do something for your mind. You want to learn a few words in Japanese. You want to try a new recipe. You like to bake or you like to cook. Maybe how to fix something in the car that you say, I'd like to kind of do more with that. Whatever it is, something for your mind. And the third one is your soul. And I'm going to just really briefly talk about this because it's a little bit of a taboo subject sometimes. Spiritual development and spiritual growth. It's something that is very personal, and we don't usually address the soul. But that's part of the problem in the world. If people need to pay attention to their spiritual guidance, and that comes from our religion. It comes from our parents. It's not something we can touch, but we have it deeply inside us, and it affects us. One of my favorite American musicians, Tina Turner, died this week. She has been with me my whole life. She's older than me. But her career has been very interesting. I saw an interview with her. I've been thinking a lot about Ikigai in that context because she belonged to a religious sect that was attached to Japan and that was attached to this notion of purpose in many ways. So I was listening to a couple interviews she did. But what I want to say just about Tina Turner is everybody has these kind of, I wouldn't call them spiritual guides because Tina Turner is, this musician. She's a dancer, she's a singer, she's an actress. But there are people in our lives that touch us for some reason that is not necessarily clear in our minds. It's, your auntie when you were 5 years old that you have been close to all your life. It could be anybody. But I invite us to really think about our soul and what is it that drives our purpose that doesn't come from our brains, which is mind, or our bodies, right, that we're physically fit and we are able to do things, but from our souls or from our spiritual side. How do those things kind of work together to create for us what ends up being an amazing career path? So leave this event today with one thing that you want to do that will make your life different. It can be anything. You want to buy a new phone. Oh, I don't have money to buy a new phone. Put it on the credit card. I don't know. I mean, these are things you would decide for yourself. I'm only giving you examples from my former students, former workshops where these topics have come up. And I've had positive results with colleagues on these. So that's the plan for today. And is there anything you'd like to add to the agenda before we move forward? I'd invite you to feel free to add anything. I see there's a note in the chat. What is that? I wish I could attend. Oh yeah, of course you can attend. They're free and you don't have to pre-register. The Career Path Development webinars, Linda Chu is the boss of those. Unbelievable. We have a YouTube channel. You can find them recorded if you can't go, or it's 4 o'clock in the morning where you are. Feel free to check out YouTube. Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else you want to add to this, Yousra, or anybody in the
Now, I'll try to drop the link to the CPD PLN on Facebook so that if Khaled or Arindam want to join, they feel free to join the group in the community. And I think you can add anything if you want, Liz, to the agenda. I think what you said already is very, very inclusive. So
Okay.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about how do
We
you
have time constraints, of course, yeah. And I think these guys are already on the Arindam, I think you're already a member of the group of the TESOL CPD. Anyway,
I know I am.
yalla, come to our,
Yalla, yalla. That's
event.
what I love about, well, since we're small group, that's what I love about Liz. She's into Arabic also so much that she delights me. It's the getting to know the other nations is something wonderful. But something stopped me here. If you could, Will, please. The flash mob. I'm not familiar with those. Would you?
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna a flash
That
mob.
sounded very interesting to you. So
It's a European thing, and it's a project for your students. A lot of teachers have trouble finding something their students can do with English. And so my students in Makassar in Indonesia, they did a flash mob. A flash mob is a performance, dancing, singing, reciting poetry. Did you ever go to one of the Sufi events in Cairo? They have these beautiful sort of spontaneous gatherings in the Hussein Mosque. So flash mob is supposed to be spontaneous, but no, for us it was a project. They rehearsed it, they prepared it, they wrote the music. The concept was insider outsider, and they did all this work around the concepts of a guy called Gert Hofstede. He did some work, and you can find it on Google, the dimensions of culture. He found out there are 5 dimensions of culture, and the students in Indonesia, they analyzed and created music and poetry that had this concept of insider outsider. So one of the things, real quick, English speakers in Makassar, in this place, very few. Yeah, so they're you're an outsider if you speak English, like I was, or you're an insider if you speak the national language. And many countries have a national language. And India has this problem. So I think our colleague, is he still? Arindam is here. Yeah, good. So in India, you have a national language, Hindi, but you also have a local language like Gujarati or many, many, many other languages, Kerala. And so what the idea is that you have these 3 languages, and you're an outsider or an insider. And that's what the Indonesians did. They have a national language, they have a local language, and they have English. And so their whole idea was to write songs and poems and to perform dances, because Indonesians, even the conservative Muslims, it's different from other parts of the world, but they love to dance and they love color. And they are, you don't see black. All of the girls wear very bright colors, and they dance together. It's a different interpretation, but they were very excited to do this project. So my job as the teacher was to connect their passion, their ikigai, with their passion for performing and doing this flash mob thing, to attach the concepts, the theories, the principles I was trying to teach them in this course that I was responsible for them to learn. I honestly didn't know how to teach 90 students. I'd never in my life had a class of 90 students. So it was kind of a freak out for me, but students did such a cool job. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. That's very much into culture, and beautiful people, Indonesians.
And you can find it on YouTube. I can send you the link to this whole flash mob, but most of it is in Bugis, their local language, or Bahasa Indonesia, or English, but the sound isn't great, but you can get a feel for how they did this thing. And some of it's pretty intense. There's a lot of violence there. There was an anti-American thing, and they set these buses on fire, and there's a lot of political upheaval in this particular area for a variety of reasons. And this was an outlet for them. It was a way for them to communicate their outrage about government policies and different things. Interesting.
Yeah, thank God you got out safe. So
yes,
yeah,
and let me elaborate on this. I think that arts, generally speaking, is a way of expression and a way of connecting nations, as we mentioned here. So regardless of any different views, so we all managed to come together through arts, and here I'm really happy to talk about Ikigai, which is like a, if I can explain it more in detail, so it's apolitical, a-religious. So in a sense, it has to do with the soul and mind and body, the connection, the harmony between all of these things together. And for Dr. Liz, as I mentioned, so she is an inspiration. So today she's going to guide all of us in order to reflect on some questions, reflect on some concepts. How did she perceive her Ikigai all through time? And Ikigai is still a process.
Sure.
So, which means like we can discover that we have a passion for a new thing, a new activity in the upcoming days. So it's a never-ending process. And I'm going to start here by displaying a few milestones and few events, so few workshops that Dr. Liz has held in the past. And as we can see, this one, Liz, was in Uzbekistan, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and can you tell us
Sure.
something you remember from this workshop, something you learned?
So I was hired last year, 2021. I was hired to do 2 years ago. I was hired to run, be a coach, a TESOL coach in Nukus in Karakalpakstan, a very, very remote area of Uzbekistan. And this is a photograph of me with some students, high school students, but our participants were high school and elementary school teachers. So I was observing a class that a teacher that was in our program, but after the class, the teacher asked me, the teacher took the photograph. That's why she's not in the picture, but she asked me to sit with the students because it was a chance for them to speak English. It's very hard for them to find English speakers or somebody that they can speak English with, though I really push them to use Facebook and social media and Zoom, and there are many ways they can do it. And I think now they are doing more. But the Ikigai bit here is perhaps timely. As Yousra has taught me recently, the whole idea is that Ikigai is love and passion for something. And I'm going to define it. And then Yousra, correct me wherever I fall off. But I want to talk about how this Uzbekistan experience helped me to kind of connect with this notion of purpose. A passion or love. The other is, what does the world need, or mission? Mm-hmm. It's another piece of the Ikigai. And something I'm good at, or you're good at, something you just know you do well. Me, I've been told by many people whom I respect that I'm really good at building community. It's a gift. It came from, I don't know where, my DNA. I don't know where I got it, but I can tell you that it was really fostered and encouraged by my beloved professors and my doctoral program. So this is not something I just do with my family. I do it in my work, as many of you know. And I was invited to write the definition of community of practice in the TESOL encyclopedia that Wiley published a few years ago. So you can go there and read that if you want to. But I'm really good at building community and at helping other people to find leadership around me. And then the idea of money, right? You can't live without money, and people really don't want to talk about it as if it's, oh, forbidden. Oh, don't talk about that. This is part of our problem, I think, in our field, is that we have failed to address Ikigai, and particularly in terms of how can I use my gifts, my professional education and experience and my knowledge of what the world needs. The world needs English, and I really believe it. And sometimes it masks as patriotism, right? Oh, I'm American, so I love to teach English. No, I mean, my goal is absolutely not associated with the US, even though the US government gives me awards and gives me lots of grants. It's about English language as a tool to get people to talk to each other instead of shoot each other. It's as simple as that. And so my community gifts, building community gifts, and my commitment to communication as a way of solving conflict. And third, my love for foreigners. And I owe all that to the Egyptians, because I went to Egypt for my first job in 1984. I am from a very middle-class family. My father was a police officer, no money in my family. I had never traveled outside the US in my life, and I go to Egypt. I mean, it's not like France or England or, Mexico, but no, I go to Egypt, of course. And there I met people who taught me to love foreigners. I mean, that's all I can say. And Egypt is my second home, and I'm going there in October, inshallah. And I mean, that's another whole long story. So my ikigai with Uzbekistan, we'll come back to that now, that I worked with these teachers whom you don't see in this photo, but it's the best picture I could grab quickly. Obviously, we were still dealing with COVID stuff, and I was talking. That's why I didn't have a mask on. But all of that came together for me in this coaching job, where we had middle career, not novice teachers, but mid-career teachers who came to this program, received the TESOL core certificate as part of a competition. They applied for and were given grants to come, and they were given release time from their work. And then my job was to teach some of the courses in that certificate program, but also then to go and observe the classrooms, which I mentioned earlier. And I just loved it. I mean, I love going in the schools and meeting the kids and learning about the way they really teach English, which was kind of terrible. I mean, they were talking all the time at the students, and I'd say to the teacher afterwards, so how long did you talk? They said only 5%. And I'm looking at my notes, and I'm saying, this person talked the whole hour. The teacher doesn't even have awareness of how much she's talking. So I was able to gently help teachers to learn to be quiet and let the students talk. So here we are working with some students. That was why that program was so much fun for me. Uzbekistan is an extraordinary country. If you ever get a chance, yet another one on my list. I would love to hear about your trip to Uzbekistan if you ever get a chance to go.
Yes, that would be amazing to visit other countries, because I think that we can learn only when we interact with people who are different with us.
Yeah.
And we can learn from each other, either the language, the culture, anything that can be shared. The human aspect should be there. So, and of course, even though the word ikigai, and I'll explain a little bit why I did choose the ikigai as a choice and a focus, even though the word is Japanese, and it's a different culture from ours. But I like the way how they crafted two words together mean something which we spend our entire lives looking for it. From the day we graduate, even before our studies, we graduate, we work, we can get married, we can have children or not. So, but that longing to find oneself is what makes us alive, and what makes us really want to conduct our daily tasks. So, but just for, I don't want to speak a lot today, and we would like to hear more from Khaled and Arindam. So if you can see now some of these questions. So today we want you to find your ikigai, because we still have almost 10 minutes. So I would like you now to have a look, Khaled and Arindam, if you can see the screen. I'm displaying the first question. So these are some of the questions that can help you find your ikigai. So first, Khaled and Arindam, are you both teachers, or can you tell us more about yourself? Please feel free to unmute yourselves. Yes, please.
Yeah, I am a teacher and I chose it out of love. It's not out of force that I have become a teacher. And I really enjoy English language teaching, and especially ELT, which has really been my ikigai in a lot of sense. But sometimes I do feel that I need to learn more, and I'm not getting the proper opportunities for it. And that really makes me feel down sometimes. But yes, of course, this question, I think it has paved really the way into like what I'm doing, the work that I'm doing. I really enjoy, and I love learning from my heart. And I was at the TESOL conference in Toronto where I met Liz. She might not remember
Of
me,
course.
but yeah.
Of course I do.
Yeah, but I really missed your session, and that is great thing that I keep on missing, and I haven't been able to really grab more opportunities to visit TESOL again. But I do look forward in the future, and especially like one of the things that would come really, it would be a dream come true of attending a workshop, a live workshop of Liz, and taking a whole course,
Yeah.
especially the TESOL course, a certificate program, or anything else. And that would take my ikigai to new heights. And that is what I feel that there is still more to happen in my career as a teacher educator and teacher trainer. And it's a continuous learning where we need to find our purpose as teacher, as trainers, and as a person, so that I can give more to society and more to my students.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Arindam. It's so obvious. Your passion for your profession is so.
Yeah.
We can feel this. We can, and best of luck for what is next. And welcome here among us. Thank you, Arindam. Thanks for sharing. What about you, Mr. Khalid? How was it? So teaching, did you come across this as a choice, or was it like something you didn't even choose? How did you first start? Let's say, how was the beginning of your career? How did you made it to teaching? Can you hear us, Khalid? If you hear us,
Oh,
or
sorry, I have to unmute myself.
welcome.
Thank you, Yousra. Thanks for tackling this issue, because I could relate, because I was trained as an architect. I had totally different career path, if you will, but it wasn't fulfilling to a point. But in the meantime, I always taught English. That was something I had since I was even like in high school. I always loved to watch the movies, and I loved sports, so I was a lot into the American Hollywood. If you recall, maybe I'm a bit older, movies like Stallone, Rocky,
I did watch them.
yeah.
Yes.
So I used to imitate the catch lines, and I know Liz would laugh that out. Yeah. I also discovered that I can catch the pronunciation without having to look into the IPAs, or I just imitate. I don't know it must be something in science, or it could be. So also on the, if you want to call that a career path, one of the things that made me really is meeting Liz England in Egypt. She may not remember exactly, but I keep reminding her every time we meet online.
I do.
But well, I made her, well, she made me happy, and then I made her upset. Well, briefly, I contacted her because I liked her CV, her career path. I was very much, and then I decided if I can, if she would let me meet her and borrow a book, and she did. I got in, I met her, and she let me borrow a book, which was something probably in Egypt not very familiar at the time, or even now, if you don't belong to where she taught in the American University. But then again, I was late for bringing back the book, and I made her a little upset. But ever since, I kind of
Yuki called me one of her disciples. I follow her everywhere she goes. Online, you know. I'm not a stalker or anything, but I really think she's got a footprint that is worth studying from all of those who are interested in teaching. I don't call myself a teacher as much as liking to transfer the what I have in any field in the English language. To me, the English language is effective in communicating. That's all through my, but I teach English, of course. And I think the Ikigai is something the Japanese are famous for, as you mentioned, Yousra, the way they craft it. And by the way, I can add to that, since I did a Japanese sport, judo, which is two syllables, judo, ju, which is the do is the way, and ju is the gentle. So judo is the gentle way, the gentle way. So yeah, you'll find that a lot in the Japanese culture. Maybe you can find it in those old cultures that, you know, like the Egyptians, maybe the Mexican, maybe the Indian, you know, those who has so much cultural background. But all in all, when I met Liz England, she left me with something. Like she always says, you gotta leave the whatever you're in with something. And also other people in my life. When I studied architecture, I had also a very outstanding doctors treating the other or the other culture as a colleague, no matter where you are in the career path. You don't have to have so much to show up for, but you still could build that collegiate relationship. And I think this is something unique to teaching. It's not in any other professions. You get tiers and of that sort. So I think we could all relate to the Ikigai. But I would like Liz England to do, because, or I would like to ask her, do you think, because I'm thinking of it the other way around, I think teachers suffer from not finding the Ikigai until they reach older in their profession. Shall we give them a glimpse? I mean, you guys of the experience, that you should have, you start with the Ikigai, and then you have a probably much clear career path. Not wait till you end up
old.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen from, you know, our I don't consider myself, you know, young. I'm over 50, but I mean, for those who has enlightenment in their career, has milestones in their career, like Liz, Yousra, and others, that could provide that Ikigai outlook. Then, because I see teachers, well, that's my context. I see teachers in Egypt probably still have that problematic issue. Many of us, as you may know, Liz, they go into teaching. It's a choice, but it's a forced choice because they don't have any other college to get into.
Yeah.
And you're the only one that could attest to that because you've been there. I could probably.
It's not only Egypt. It's not only Egypt. You know, there's a hierarchy. So if you take the Tenewayama, the test of, you know, school leaving, and you get a score, it sets you on a path for your profession. And I'm not sure, I know it's like that in some countries, in other countries it's not.
So Mr. Khalid, you were talking about something really interesting. Can you?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you carry on, please?
Yeah, sure. So I think the you know, I always try to make use of what at this point you're talking about the Ikigai. So it's something that probably in all cultures, but I look at it that it's needed to those who don't have their passion, that or they haven't even tried to find their passion. So, for example, if a teacher would be into college today and he's got 4 years to graduate, well, if he would, I'm sure if they would read few words and few advice about the Ikigai, or maybe we can find the English term for it. They probably could have the choice before they go into teaching, because from what I see, that also teaching is not, I mean, it's a stressful job. And I read that in so many places that people get at a point. For example, today I've invited so many people to come and attend, but it seems to be there's some kind of exhaustion that sits in. There's so many things out, so many, you won't believe. You got 2 or 3 groups on your phone. You got so many events that are happening at the same time. You lose track, and you don't even know what's important to you and not important. And nobody is guiding you through this. So that's what I think. We can make the best use of the Ikigai as a concept, is to put it forward, not at the end of the career. And then people could choose, well, maybe not, this is not their passion, so they don't, they don't have to bother, stay in, rather than keep going, and then at the end they will, discover that's not my Ikigai.
Aaron Dom,
so it's not,
by the way.
Yes, and we have your guest. Welcome. Apart from Arindam, I've seen Nasir, I guess. Nasir Bubakrawi. I guess he is trying to connect. So welcome everyone, and thanks for being here. So what you mentioned, Khaled, I absolutely agree with you. Look, we're always looking for our purpose in life, Ikigai, be it individually speaking or collectively speaking. So, and the communities that you're talking about, the communities of practice, they're here to help us thrive. And whenever I feel like I will be losing track as a person, as a teacher, I find that support and a backbone support system in the PLNs and the communities of practice with TESOL. And I can remember moments that I've been praised for a presentation that I've given. I've learned from colleagues how to edit and review a few things. So it's an interchangeable learning experience for me. And when it comes to Ikigai, I thought really sometimes about a career shift. And I said, maybe teaching, because sometimes it's a challenge, in some particular moments, like hourly paid teaching cannot be a support system for funding maybe studies or further things. So I honestly thought about a career shift, but I said no, I like teaching and that's my passion. And that's what I'll be doing like forever. And it's an ongoing process. And I'm interested to know, Khaled, what are the ELT communities that you are part of? So I know very well that you're part of the CPD-PLN. I've seen you comment in there. And what other communities do you take part in? I'm interested to know. And I didn't know them as well. Yes.
I'm going to be advantageous here and ask you both if you can voluntarily join the newest one I just joined, which is something by a Japanese teacher. He's been going for maybe a year or a couple of years. He has something called Global Classroom. And what he does, he invites teachers from everywhere. We've got like 10 different nationalities, but they come on with their own students. So, and every week, specifically on Saturday, 3 o'clock Egypt time, it's about 10 o'clock Japan time. And he has a title for each week. And the session is 1 hour split into breakout rooms where the teachers and we swap teachers and kids. So I get to facilitate for some, people, whatever comes across. It's very interesting because you get, we're like 100 and 110 in one session. You get to meet people from all over. You get to know their concept of, thinking about different topics. But what we're lacking really are, I hate the word, but quote unquote, the natives, because we're all natives of this planet. So I don't like the distinction between the natives and non-natives. But I would love for Dr. Liz England to join us as a surprise. They'd be like shocked, they only hear about the name and on the books and the, on the platforms, but they don't think that could really happen. So this is like a formal invitation, and maybe we can play a little trick. We can play I'm a student and you are like a facilitator, and because we have to put our things on the Excel sheet. So let them be surprised by seeing the Liz England on the sheet there someday. And of course, to you, Yousra. So it's something, it looks like, really, this is my first time to find out that English really has something. I don't know what it is, but it has, I don't know, maybe some psychological explanation. Has something that gets people to use it for communication, whatever it is, but it's something there. Because we've got people from India, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia. I'm the only Egyptian there. We're like many representing the Arab countries. We used to have people from Mexico, and of course, Japan, 2 or 3 facilitators, teachers, and kids. So English has something unique to it, like the pyramids. You don't know what it is, but it's there.
I'm so glad Arindam came back. Arindam, I'd love to hear your perspective from India.
Yeah, so Liz, do you want me to answer to the second question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yousra,
actually,
can you show us the second question?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Here's it.
Yeah, actually, what I've seen throughout my career is mostly in India, in our country, the picture is very few people, they understand the difference of what ELT actually means or ELT actually aims for. So people consider learning English mostly in the point of literature. So it's not literature, it's something that we need to do with language. And the utmost skill that Indians or people in India they need is how they can communicate in English, how they can write a single sentence correctly in English, or how they can just be at least fluent to speak at will or at a stretch without being being tired up in the middle or just faltering, which puts a lot of people here in our country. They feel that without English, they cannot achieve anything in the world, which is true. But it's very difficult to make them understand that is how easily we can learn English and how easily we can put it to use if we can regularly practice it with love, and if we have a community of like-minded people where we can grow with each other, where we can share with each other. Here, teachers, they tell that they are doing a lot of things. Like mostly when in conferences we go, we see that teachers are very interested to learn or put something into practice. But when they go back to their own classrooms, they hardly do anything to bring about a change. So the most
it
important
really
thing
surprises me because Arindam, I've been to India 3 times, and I know that when I call my insurance company or my bank, I get a guy in India at the call center, and we did some call center training in India, and there are jobs for people who have English in India, and yet somehow the school system doesn't know that.
Yeah, true. Yes, so they are not making the children employable in that sense. So it's only learning like grammar and everything. That is, you put into use whatever you know. You just do a lot of cramming and you just produce on the during the exams. But there's hardly practical things that are required which are being tested. So more important is activities which the teacher needs to frame around the lessons where students interact and communicate, and they produce their own projects and they come up with presentations and all these things which we know that they work, but very few teachers they will to do all these things. So it is not the textbook which is to be blamed, because most teachers they keep on blaming the textbook. So we as trainers or teachers, we need to carve out our own lessons. We need to carve out different activities which go with the lessons, and that is what the whole purpose of an ELT workshop is. So this I find very much lacking. And this is the skill that is, I'm more worried about the teachers, as Liz said at the very beginning, the teachers should change themselves first, rather than always blaming the students or always putting the focus on the students. So focus should be on the teacher.
My work is in teacher education, so I'm very focused on teachers and less on students. I mean, you can't have a teacher if you don't have a student. You can't have a student without a teacher. But
yes,
what I want to say, I found in Oman, I did a project in Muscat as well as in Ibri out in the provinces. And one of the things was an excuse. The teachers, even the native speakers of English, both the Omanis and the English speakers who were native speakers, they said, oh, we don't have any place to use English. So we don't have to teach spoken English. So when in Indonesia, one of the things we did, we set up a Facebook group because the girls in Indonesia had nobody to talk to other than each other. And there was nobody to talk to in English language. I put them on a Facebook page with my old students who were in training in the university in Muscat. And they're Omani, their language is Arabic, right?
Yeah.
They speak Arabic. The Indonesians speak Bahasa Indonesia, has nothing to do with Arabic. I mean, they know Arabic for the Quran, but that's it. They don't use it in the day-to-day communication. So we've got these girls.
Elizabeth England, Toronto ছিল conference.
We have the girls in Oman, we have the girls in Indonesia, and they're on Facebook, and they were making videos and talking to each other about makeup and weddings and all this stuff. You know, okay, I don't care what they talk about. They only used English because it was the language they shared. And I made it a requirement that they had to meet once, you know, they had a program on Facebook, and they're friends to this day, these women. The women in Oman, the women in Indonesia speak only English to each other, and they're still friends. And this is 2012, and this is 2023. So I'm pretty proud of that program. So there are ways that we can, you know, have people have fun, right? Have fun while they're using English in authentic ways.
Yes, true.
It was such a challenge because they were so shy, and they had been told to keep their mouths shut because they were women. And I said, you have this requirement to meet this girl who lives in, you know, Salalah in a place they had to look on the map. Where is Oman? They don't even know. They know they're Muslims, but that's all they knew. But the minute they met, I could see it. And I sat with them sometimes on their meetings. It was so adorable.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much. Thank you, Arindam. Thank you, Khalid. And today I've learned more about you and how you perceive your Ikigai. And I'm sure that it's not the end. Today, I think will be just the beginning to start thinking more about your Ikigai. And I look really forward to hearing more insights. And either a text message or a video. We have in the CPG-PLN what we call the 60 seconds video with the TESOL International. So you can send your insights and your ideas, and we'll be glad to share them with us in the group. And would you like to add anything before we wrap up, we end this session, Liz, Khalid, and Arindam?
I just want to thank you for this opportunity, and please repeat it as many times as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
And Liz, whenever you come into Egypt, please.
September 26th, I'm flying to Egypt.
You got some business?
I'm working with a relo now, inshallah.
Inshallah, in Egypt?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
because what I did, I've been trying. We've got that thing going, and you remember a few days ago or a few weeks ago, we got that thing about giving proposals or writing proposals. So yeah. I suggested to one of the team, why not? Because we're supposed to, as participants, to give training. So I said, you know, what could be better than having one of the gurus into, and I suggested you, but they never came back to me. Maybe because
Curtis
they know you're coming.
Curtis
There you
Chan
go.
wrote to me and he said he's working on it. So inshallah, we'll see.
Wonderful. Yep. And you are welcome, you and Yousra, to have dinner. If she ever wants to come to Egypt, that would be, because we've got so many things going. We've got the Grand Museum open.
As soon as I get my new job, so I'll start my savings to fly to Egypt, because I noticed there are plenty of conferences, and my friends have been sharing a lot of events and proposals for Egypt. So why not?
Yep.
Who knows? You'll see me in Egypt soon enough.
Yep.
Inshallah.
Absolutely. Inshallah.
Africa ELTA is having its conference in Cairo in May or June 2024.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a lot of events coming up.
I got heads up on that. Yeah, so that's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So can I have you guys as on that global classroom as a surprise guest, maybe? Some
I've already
Saturday.
joined the link which you have just shared.
Yes, as soon as I get back to teaching, so that I have a new class of my students, because I can't get in touch with my former students, for their privacy. So as soon as I get the new job, I'll jump into the group and I'll join the community. I'm active in various teacher associations, and why not? Global perspectives are something like that I'm passionate about, and why not? Thanks for the invitation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. One last thing I want to leave Dr. Liz with, because I know she's also into that in any other way. You know how it is, the lack of resources that we have in this part of the world. And I'm talking specifically about Egypt. There is so much gap in between, whatever you look, in terms of training, in terms of having the ability to purchase books. No matter where you go, there is a big gap between what a teacher can afford and what he would like to have in order for him, let's say, to find his ikigai. So he's always short in resources. He can even knock on the ikigai door, for God's sakes, So I hope you have a little bit of time to address that and how we can get around it. And I'm talking about subscription to the TESOL International. For example, I would love to join the research, but maybe at the time I couldn't afford to be a member. And if you want to be a member for somebody who's really searching for his ikigai, you would want to be maybe on 2 or 3 different platforms or 2 or 3 different associations. That's an arm and a leg in terms of, that's probably equal to a month's salary of the average teacher in Egypt. So please find us a solution. And thank you.
Thank you.
And as for the materials, Khaled, there's an interesting group on Facebook from a colleague from the TESOL International, where we encourage creating materials as teachers ourselves. So it's like we rely on the background knowledge, whatever we know, and on collaboration. So for designing materials for students and for professionals as well. So I think this community of practice can be useful for you. So I'll be glad to share a link if you want after the webinar, so that you can have an idea about the let's say community of practice, how to develop materials for teachers. And glad that you shared your insights with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Liz, would you like to say something before? Yes.
I just put the website of our PLN so anybody can go to it. There's lots of YouTube links there of our webinars and the 60-second stories and others. Thank you both for coming. I'm really glad to see you. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I learned a lot. And I encourage you to, buy a membership. I know it's expensive. Buy a phone. I know it's expensive. Invest in yourself. Yeah, of course you have to buy the food. You have to pay the rent, of course. But I think just thinking of yourself as a valid source of the money that you make. Yeah.
So thank you very
And
much.
please, Liz, do let us know if you are in India next,
Inshallah,
when you are coming to India again. Yeah.
you know, the TESOL's doing a project there now. I'm not sure where they are, but they're doing something, the TESOL certificate program there that we did in Uzbekistan. They moved it to India. Yeah. Yeah. And I would love to come. Arundam, thank you for the invitation. I'll keep you in mind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for devoting your time to be attending this lovely webinar. And I would like to thank my honorable guest, Dr. Lizabeth England, for devoting her time and her expertise to talk about her career path development. And the journey goes on. Join us for the CPD-PLN for further journey and adventure together when it comes to storytelling and have exchange. So we will find there different opportunities. As for CPD, you can attend the webinars. I'm a member of the TESOL International Association, and this gives me the ability to attend these PLNs. And don't forget, if you invest in yourself, that's the best investment you can make in your life. And thank you very much, everyone, for being here. And I hope this won't be the last time we'll be talking about Ikigai, and enjoy the rest of the day, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.